Hello DevOps friends, hello Proxmox, hello everyone, welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen from OPSITIVE. And another week, another live coding stream, or it's more going to be in a live administration stream, because today we are going to do a few first things on my new home server. I got a new home server! Yeah, it's been a long time since I had a locally running server that I could use for my stuff. I think that was... the last time I had something like that was at an early business I started when I did Linux consulting. And so yeah, I'm very happy to have another machine that I can use for experiments and as a lab environment. Proxmox writes, I did figure out the CPU issue. Solution, BIOS is on most up-to-date version already. Okay. If you don't read the fine print closely enough, you'll mistakenly think your BIOS version behind and the CPU you bought is compatible. Ouch. So, what did you do then if your BIOS didn't fit the CPU? Did you get a new CPU, or were you able to downgrade the BIOS? These hardware things are so tedious. I was a little bit afraid when I got my server and I had to make a few changes because I did a lot of hardware work back in the day, especially when I had this Linux system consulting business. Oh, so you got the old CPU back in. Okay. So your machine is running? Nice. Yeah, mine is running as well. I got myself a home server. Let's get right into things, I think. There's not much that I need to update you on. So I guess we can go right ahead, because the home server is the most important update, actually. Except my new t-shirt. Where I... wrong direction. I had to add that, not only because it says Unix, but also because it has my birth year on it. I'm only a few days younger than Unix itself, and so yeah, I had to have this t-shirt. I also got it as a hoodie, to be honest. I needed a few new garments anyway. So yeah, the new home server is a old, well, it's not so old, but it's a used Dell Precision 5820.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Alex, welcome to Full Stack Live. Welcome to the stack. Good to have you. Nice of you to follow the stream. Hey, Ruby Dev. Good to see. Today we're not going to talk about Ruby that much because, yeah, we are pretty much going into system administration territory. But if you have any questions about Ruby, or if there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to ask away. Don't be afraid to get me off topic or something like that. This stream is meant to be interactive, so yeah. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I can help you with, just let me know. Yeah, why? He's a legend. Definitely. All right, so as I said, I got myself a Dell Precision 5820 workstation, which must have been pretty expensive back a few years back when it was new. I got it off eBay for a decent price, and it was offered with only a 1 terabyte spinning rust hard disk and Windows on it, and without a graphics card. But I didn't mind because I had a NVIDIA GTX 10 what was it, 1060? No, 1680 lying around. And yeah, when I got the server, I put in the graphics card, and then I realized the server came without a power cable for the graphics card. The server power cable itself was missing as well, but that was easy to replace. I have a lot of spare power cables lying around with the IEC plug. But yeah, the GPU power cable is Dell specific, i.e. proprietary, so I needed to get one. I contacted the vendor about the missing cables, but didn't hear back until a day later, and I didn't want to wait and maybe get into some dispute or something like that. So I ordered a replacement cable off Amazon. There apparently are lots of vendors who offer a third-party replacement stuff, and so I got myself a power cable. After a while, the vendor itself got in touch as well, apologized for the missing cables, and sent them off using FedEx. So I'll get their cables tomorrow, I guess, but thankfully Amazon already delivered on Sunday, and so I was able to set up my server. I got the graphics card working after a few minutes of trying to get the cable right, and then I also added an M2 SSD, an NVMe SSD. Since the Dell 5820 doesn't have a M2 slot from the factory, I got myself a PCI card adapter where I was able to slot in the NVMe disk, and that worked out of the box. And I was really, really anxious that these things wouldn't work, because I haven't touched internal hardware in years. And I simply didn't want to get into that, and having to Google all this stuff and how to set things up in the BIOS and all that crap. I really didn't want to do that, but yeah, everything worked out nicely. Even replacing or renewing the CPU thermal paste went nicely. I suspected that the old thermal paste would be pretty worn, the machine being, I guess, 4 years old or more, and so I screwed off the CPU cooler, and yeah, the old thermal paste was old and dried up and flaky, so I cleaned up the old thermal paste, put some nice knock-to-out thermal paste on instead, put the CPU cooler back on, and lo and behold, everything was still working, which made me pretty relieved. And so that was when I was able to actually turn on the machine and boot it. I first booted it from the hard disk that it came with, and I extracted the Windows product code, just in case I need a Windows version eventually. And then I wiped the hard disk, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, because instead of the 1 gigabyte hard disk that is in there, I intend to put in 4 spinning rust hard disks and make them my new NAS, simply by putting ZFS on it and exporting the storage as NFS and SMB storage. I'll probably not use a full-grown NAS software, because I don't see the need. I think I'll be pretty good simply making it a ZFS pool, and then I can export that as NFS and SMB. Professor asks, will you be using hardware pass-through on the GPU? Is there a good way for a hypervisor to handle GPU virtualization? I haven't looked into that. I might try that eventually, maybe make it a streaming offload server or something like that, but I'm not sure because it's the only graphics card in there, and if this graphics card is already used by the operating system, in this case I'm using Proxmox as my VM management software, I'm not sure if I still will be able to pass the GPU through, or if I would have to have a second graphics card to serve as my console graphics, or if I even need one, because I don't have a monitor attached to the server anyway. So yeah, I'll have to look into that. If it's possible to pass through the NVIDIA card, even though it's the only one that's built in, I'll try and do that as well. You're right, I don't have a monitor attached anymore. I did have a monitor attached when I made all these hardware modifications, but now that it is in its place next to my desk here, I won't need to have video output anyway. So yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll write that down into my home server and live stream content ideas list. Yeah, I'll have to make a note about that. And then Praxeus also suggests the spinning disk could be fun for practicing DBA skills and testing I/O optimization. Yeah, you're right. Using tools like suspension and stuff to do a little bit of fine-tuning for the disk performance would be fun as well. So, I have Proxmox installed. What I'll also do in terms of hardware optimization is that I'll add more memory. At the moment, the machine has 32 gigabytes of RAM, and if I want to use it seriously, I'll probably need a little bit more. And since it's not too expensive to get DDR4 memory, I'll probably extend it to a 128 gigabytes. The maximum this machine can do is 512 gigabytes of RAM, a half a terabyte of RAM, which is pretty impressive. And it has a... oh, let's see if I remember correctly. It has a Xeon W... oof, I don't remember the exact CPU type, but it's an older generation Xeon, and it has, I think it has 6 cores with 12 threads. But it's a pretty capable CPU, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to running my workloads on that. Let's see if I can find out what it is. Well, we should be able to get this from system information or something like that. We can actually take a look at the shell. Why don't we do that? So, let's go here. Oh, just a second. Oop. There we go. That was probably a typo. Yep. So here we go, and here's Proxmox. Let's go into the shell. Maybe we need to make this full screen. Okay, and if we do an ls CPU, what do we have here? It's a W2133 CPU at 3.6 gigahertz, and it has 2 threads per core, and it has 6 cores, so it's 12 threads in total. Which is, I think, pretty decent for a VM machine or for a home server. And yeah, I'm really impressed by this machine, also by the hardware quality. I can see why companies spend a lot of money for branded hardware, because this machine is built very, very decent. And it has... it's completely proprietary, of course, but it has locks and stuff everywhere. So with this, I think I can one-handedly replace the power supply, for example. I press a latch and pull it out, and that's it. It has 4 hot swap bays for hard disks, which is actually hot swap, so I can do that while the system is running. The cable management is done nicely internally. I'm very, very impressed how everything works with this machine. Of course, they pretty much want you to buy Dell expansions as well, and I think there are Dell specific hot swap bays for M2 SSDs or NVMEs flash drives, and but one of these hot swap frames alone would have cost me more than €100, and so it's that would have been far more expensive than simply getting an SSD PCI adapter. Or an NVMe PCI adapter. I still need to learn the terminology because, as I said, I haven't done hardware in a long time, in decades probably. Would have been far more expensive than simply getting a PCI NVMe adapter for $15 or so. And so, yeah, it's a tower form factor. It's it's sold as a workstation. I think Dell still sells the 5820 series, even though there are more recent and more powerful machines available. And so it's a tower that stands beside my desk and looks pretty nice as well. The industrial design that Dell has put into it is also pretty nice. I don't have to hide that machine. All right, so what I'm going to do today is, first of all, I need to make a Debian VM template, because I'm expecting there to be many VMs that I'll create in the next few days and weeks. So having a template VM that I can simply use to create new ones will be very helpful. And so that's the first thing that I'm going to do today. Let's go ahead and try that. So far I only created one single VM, and that's the Ubuntu 2004 VM that I'm running here, or not running because it's stopped at the moment. And I guess I'll create a new VM based on Debian. So let's do exactly that. Since this is only going to be a temporary VM that we then will turn into a template, I'm using the ID range 100 to 199, which I've reserved for test stuff and experimental things, throwaway machines basically. And I'm going to start VM IDs with 200 for the real production machines then. So I'll call that Debian template. As the ISO image to boot from, I'm going to use the Debian ISO that I've downloaded earlier. Proxmox is really nice as a VM platform. I'm only getting to know it. I haven't used Proxmox up until now. And so being able to, for example, download ISO images directly from the web without having it to download to your workstation first, and then upload it to the Proxmox server, and instead being able to simply enter a URL, copy in or paste in a URL, and then Proxmox downloads it directly from debian.org is pretty nice. And yeah, I love mature software, and it's easy to see that Proxmox is very mature in terms of VM management. So, graphics card default. Machine, I think we are supposed to use Q35. And for the BIOS, we'll use OVMF UEFI BIOS. And I need the EFI storage, for which I'll use my local VM storage. SCSI controller, I think we'll stick with VirtIO. Yeah. And we'll enable the QEMU agent. We'll not use the Microsoft pre-enroll keys. Disks, I'll use SCSI with 32 gigabytes. That's all right. We can always increase the disk size for the VMs we are going to spawn from this template. The only thing is we can't go below, but I think 32 is a decent decent point to start from. I'll enable discard because we are running this on an SSD. I am using, by the way, a 4 terabyte NVMe SSD as my main storage medium here. And as I said, I'm going to add 4 spinning Rust drives to build a NAS from. So that's that. We won't use any cache. I think that's that. As for CPU, we are going to assign 1 socket with 2 cores by default. And I guess we'll start with 2 gigabytes, and we can then increase that for the actual VMs. As for the network, we'll use the default bridge. That should be it. Are we going to start it after it's created? Yes, I think we'll go right into the system and make a few preparations. Here we go. And here we are in the Debian 12 installer. I'm not sure about the graphical installer, so I'll use the console installer instead. At least with Proxmox itself, I had issues using the graphical installer, and I guess that scared me away a little bit. Shall we use the graphical installer? Oh, why not? Let's give it a try. We can always retry. Okay, so we're going to use English as our language. Location is Ireland. Keyboard is going to be English US. American English. This is all moving pretty swiftly. I guess I'll use Debian as the host name. Domain name is going to be home. Oops, I need to disable Vimium for this browser. I just installed Vimium earlier. to get my navigation keys, but I need to disable that for the Proxmox website. So that's going to be .home.arpa, that's my home domain. And then we'll need a root password. Okay. Password input error. Okay. User account, full name for the new user. This is going to be admin. Username is going to be admin. Reserved by the system. Okay. Then we'll use... Wait, now we're going back to the root password. Okay. Then we'll use OPSITIVE, I guess. And we need another password. Just a second. Let me look after something. Alright, so a guided use entire disk, yes. But let's use LVM. It's always useful. And we can... Let's practice good housekeeping and separate home, var, and temp. Partition disks. Yes, please. Yep. I guess that is the maximum, so I'll not use max. Yep. So what did we get? It'll create... I can't see the sizes here. Okay. But it creates a logical volume for home, for root, for swap, for temp, and for var, which is definitely a good way to go about things here. Catching up with chat, Proxmox writes, very similar to my setup, and since it's older hardware, a CPU upgrade might even be pretty cheap. Oh, that's actually a good idea. I didn't think of that. But yeah, I guess it'll take a little bit of time until I max out the built-in CPU. And you're working on your own home lab in parallel. Yeah, let's make this home lab day. Okay, so that's that. Actually, I haven't installed Debian for quite a while. This is the first time in years I've installed Debian, because at my business we use Ubuntu LTS, so the 2004 and 2204 versions, and I'm very interested in Debian because, yeah, with corporations doing questionable stuff recently, I don't want to put all my eggs into the one Ubuntu basket, so it's time I check out Debian, which will be the easiest to migrate to should we ever have to jump ship. Exegete, welcome to the stack. Happy Tuesday to you. How are things? And Balthazar joining us as well. Welcome to the stack. Howdy to you too, sir. I'm installing stuff on my new home server. I got my Dell Precision 5820, put in a 4TB SSD, put in an NVIDIA GTX 1650, and installed Proxmox, and now I'm installing Debian to make it my default VM template. And Exegete has new keyboard day. Tell me all about it. I need to know. What did you get? And why did you get it? I mean, you already have very decent keyboards. What a stupid question, or what a stupid addendum. What does one have to do with the other? I mean, look at my shelf. If I had stopped getting keyboards when I had a decent one, this shelf would be pretty empty. Oh, the new Voyager. That's the low-profile moonlander, isn't it? I had a short look at it a few days ago. Interesting. The only thing that keeps me from getting these off-the-shelf keyboards, like there's also a new keyboard I/O one coming out. That would pique my interest, but I wouldn't know what to do with all these keys. Once you're used to a 3x5 keyboard, or at least 3x6 as it is here, even though the outer columns are, I think, completely disabled. Possibly even going with you to coffee shops. Nice. They made it that you can pack it down nicely to travel with it, didn't they? ZSA is quite nifty when it comes to these things. You'll get there eventually, Exegete, you'll get there. I guess Frackberg and I will work on that. We'll get you there. Yeah, but now it's bragging that mine is smaller, actually. That's very different from olden times. Okay, so let me see what we're doing here. Debian official blah de blah. Do you wish to scan more media? Please insert another one now. That reminds me of old 64 days. C64 days. Insert disk 2. No, there is no extra installation media. Thank you very much. So, we'll need a mirror. Do we have an Irish mirror? No, we don't. I guess we'll then make do with the UK one. United Kingdom. Probably could use Frankfurt, Germany as well. That should have good connectivity too. But I guess United Kingdom is all right. Archive FTP UK Debian.org sounds right. Now come on, Exegete, you're not that old. There is no HTTP proxy in the way. We can't go without that. You know what, Balthasar, I can even relate. Just earlier, last week, I think, I had my Molly on my desk, which is a replica of the old Macintosh keyboard, the M0110A. And just in, not with plastic casing, but full aluminium casing, which makes it 3 kilos or something like that. Yeah, I can use that to break my office door open if I ever need to. And I really like the if it's a little bit more hefty, if you can actually see something on the keyboard, on the desk. In my case here, if I let my hands hover over my keyboard, you can't almost see anything. So yeah, I do like that, especially if, like the Molly, I have a keycap set that I really like, and I have my Dracula keycap set on the Molly, so I pretty much would like to see the keyboard and not cover it with my hands. So that's also an aspect that I have. Sometimes I actually prefer form over function, I guess. Configuring popularity contest. The supply distribution with statistics, most used packages on this system. I think that does make sense, and since it's only home lab stuff, I don't mind sharing a little bit of data here. So, software selection. Do we need GNOME? No. For our template, we definitely do not need GNOME. If we want to build a workstation, we'll install that separately. We definitely will need an SSH server, and we'll need the standard system utilities. Everything else will be installed on demand. Oh, nice! You got yourself a punch card. The oldest storage medium I have is my first 5¼ floppy disk from my Commodore 128. That is up on the shelf here on in a frame. I mean, back in the day when you still were able to frame floppy disks and put them behind glass. Oh, did I leave desktop environment ticked? I thought I had that switched off. I guess now I can't go back, but no, I won't start over. I can always delete a few packages. Ah, I didn't read this closely enough. This window is actually a little bit too small. I guess it would make sense to have that separately. And okay, it's already max size. Let's move this over a bit so it's not too confusing. Exegete wrote, so I have to figure out a good map for the Voyager, then flush all my keyboards to the match. Yeah, I guess that's yeah, there's no way around it. If you have a keyboard layout that you really like, you want to have that on all your keyboards, and that's when all the keyboards go out of the window that you can't actually remap. And that will get you nicely on the way to custom keyboard land. But yeah, I pretty much found my keyboard layout for split keyboards, at least. For my normal staggered keyboards, I pretty much use the Happy Hacking keyboard layout, which is the standard first layer and then a few functions on a second layer, and that's it. Things like cursor keys and stuff like that, because it's the Happy Hacking keyboard layout is a 60% layout, and yeah, that's my preferred layout for normal staggered monolithic yeah, what you keyboards that are in one piece, I guess. And for my split keyboards, I have my default layers with navigation layer, symbol layer, and stuff like that. It's pretty much inspired by the Mirioku layout, but I made a few changes simply to make a few things easier to reach. And that's what I'm using on my Korn here, and also on my Lulu. I also have a staggered split keyboard, which was one of my first keyboards that I got, the Freestyle Edge from Kinesis. And I'll probably give that away in my 12-hour live stream, which has still no date assigned yet. I'd like to celebrate passing the 1,000 followers mark, but I didn't have the time to do some proper planning and actually decide on a date. I guess I should do that RSN, but yeah, there are a few keyboards that are still laying around that will never get used by me anymore, so I'll give them away to someone, to some of my viewers. SP Far, welcome to the stack. Happy to have you here. Another Debian fan? Awesome. I'm not a Debian fan yet, but since I've been using Ubuntu for decades now, I'm pretty sure that Debian and I will get good friends. I've built myself a new home server, and now I'm starting with building a template for Debian, because I'm going to install quite a few VMs in the next few days. Exactly, since I'm already used to everything that is more or less, yeah, specific to the Debian family. That made the decision easy to try out Debian, especially the new version, simply to see what's different, and if Debian could actually be the plan B for my business. So I have a small web hosting business. We are specialized in high performance and high availability web hosting, and we're running a few hundred Linux servers on Ubuntu LTS. And since corporations seem to do questionable stuff lately, I want to have a plan B if we ever have to move off Ubuntu for some reason. And of course, Debian is the most attractive alternative there. Oh yes, Exegete asked earlier, from a sysadmin perspective, what are your thoughts on passkeys? From a sysadmin perspective, is there a specific sysadmin perspective on passkeys in the first place? I'm not sure. I think the passkeys system itself is reasonable and technologically sound, so I don't have any reservations about that. If my stream is stuttering today, I apologize. For some reason, my provider seems to have issues today. Instead of my usual 50 megabit upstream, I only had a 10 earlier when I did my speed test. And it seems to be flaky as well, so yeah, I apologize if stream quality isn't on the usual level of quality. Ah yes, yeah, that would have been my point anyway, since they are so similar to SSH keys with basically public and private parts. You said private parts. That's what I mean with technologically sound. So I don't have anything. I don't have any concerns about passkeys, but I actually haven't tried them out yet either. So yeah, just in the past few days, I updated my 1Password client application here on my workstation, and it informed me that passkeys are now supported. But I haven't set up a single passkey yet. So I'll have to get a little bit more practice, I guess, before I can really build an opinion on them. Bethsa wrote, I have a USB-C YubiKey that I've barely touched, largely because I'm such a diverse OS landscape that having tooling where I can take advantage of a secure enclave is a bit difficult. Yeah, makes sense. I do use YubiKeys for many of my two-factor authentication purposes. I have a YubiKey micro, or what it's called, here in my workstation that stays in there on a permanent basis, so I can only reach over and touch that. If I need to log in where I actually am using the YubiKey, and I also have a YubiKey on my keychain that I can use when I'm out and about. And of course, I have both of them registered with the relevant websites, so I can use that if necessary. But sometimes I don't have even my keys in reach, and that's when I fall back to OTP authentication via 1Password. For example, when I'm using my iPad, I don't use a YubiKey, I simply use the OTP from 1Password. Praxis writes, hardware-based tokens require some system design around secrets management because the private key is usually an XML file. I think in the case of YubiKey, the private key is stored on the YubiKey itself in a secure enclave, so you can't even access that, and it's not really relevant in which format the key is stored, since it's not accessible anyway. Bethesda wrote, I do like that a hardware key is less easy to exfiltrate via malware, but instead of using it purely as an SSH key, I'd rather pair it with something like Mozilla's SOPS, where it's used as a decryption secret factor instead of the pure machine secret as it's done. Yeah, that does make sense. SOPS is so cool, by the way, if you've never looked at the project. I haven't. So that's something I need to make a note of. Where do I put that? I'll simply put it in my to-do list. check out Mozilla SOPS. Okay, Debian is installed. Please make sure to remove the installation media so that you boot in the new system rather than restarting the installation. Please choose continue to boot. I'll close this VNC window. I will go into hardware and the CD-ROM drive. Do not use any media, which is basically ejecting the CD-ROM. And now I can go back to my installer here and finish the installation, and now we'll reboot. Oh, okay, so Proxmox wrote, for cloud access with the YubiKey as a TOTP rolling token, the XML must be synced with the authentication server. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I do this all the time for FIPS-compliant environments in my now former position. Okay. I'm pretty happy that I don't have to deal with these regulated areas anymore. I never needed to do things like HIPAA, but at one of my former corporate IT management jobs, I was actually responsible for their payment system, and they had their own homegrown payment system, which of course needed to have PCI DSS certification, and we had to go through that every year, which was the biggest headache of them all. And so I'm pretty happy that I don't have to do that anymore, and can simply click my stuff from Stripe and have them deal with all the compliance nightmares. Okay, do I still remember my password? Yes, I think so. So let's log in. And actually, yeah, it's a graphical login. It even has GNOME installed. How did that even work? Okay. You know what, Exegete? I am almost tempted to actually redo the installation. Do I strip this down, or do I simply... Well, let's see. Let's see. I guess what I'm going to do is reboot into the console. I mean, it could even... I could even try and switch to the console. I'm just not sure if that will be passed through, or if I go to the console on my workstation here. No, let's do a proper reboot. That'll be quick anyway, I guess. That got me into the BIOS. That was not my intention. And here we are. Ah! What I want to do is do an I. How is that a whole shell script? Interesting. So I guess I'll do this. What I'm trying here is to tell the system to boot into run level 3 instead of run level 5 with the graphical installation. And now we are actually on the on the console. Balthazar wrote, I built a little wrapper tool called Subs Run that makes it easy to use a Subs secret store with CLI tools to parse secrets via environment variables, but like Kubernetes and Docker Swarm does. Interesting. Uh-huh. What do you use that for? That's interesting. So, SOPS, I think, is the system that lets you use your YubiKey as an authentication token with a secret store. And then you can use CLI tools to get secrets in the form of environment variables. I think products like HashiCorp Vault do similar things, don't they? And yeah, that's nice. I'll have a look at that. And I guess Balthazar's last message is directed to me. Best practices would say, do not use a system that has been littered with unnecessary packages. Yeah, I agree. I'll give this a try, but we'll see. So let's log in as root. And this time, let's try and... actually type the password correctly. The font is pretty much atrocious, so let's start with that. Dpackage dash reconfigure, what was it, console something or other. Let's see. Console setup. UTF-8, Latin 1, well, I'll let it guess the optimal character set, and then we'll use fixed 8x16. That didn't change anything, did it? That's already 8x16. So let's use fixed 8x18. That should make things a little bit more readable, I hope. Not really. Resolution is simply too high, I guess. So let's see. We don't have any groups like on Fedora, do we? So there's no easy way to find out these things. So let's see, there must be lots of GNOME stuff in there. Yeah. And if I remove the GNOME desktop environment, that should take care of things quite nicely. So let's do apt remove GNOME. Yes, remove all that stuff. I'm sorry, even I myself have issues reading that properly. How do I get that a little bit more readable? Probably need to make changes to the frame buffer configuration so it starts with a lesser resolution or something. Balthazar wrote, when I originally wrote this, I was trying out a tool that needed an API key. However, I didn't want to export a secret to my shell environment where any other tool would get past that key. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I do use a similar approach. I simply use 1Password as my secret store and use their OPCLI command to access my vaults. Praxis writes, you can open the console into a new window and adjust resolution that way. Let's try and do that. Oh, yes. What an improvement. Thanks for that. I didn't expect that to be so much better. But yeah, nice. Okay. So, we removed a lot of stuff for Gnome. I guess we could also do an apt auto remove, which will clean up a lot more stuff. I think I should be able to change the font size with the reconfigure command that I used earlier, but if the bitmap fonts are already maxed out, I would have to reduce the resolution of this console. But yeah, so far I can work with what I have now. But if you can find something that will help me get these characters even bigger, especially if I'm streaming it, yeah, I would appreciate it. Oh, okay, I can. Okay, I have no experience with Bitwarden, but it would definitely be my alternative if someone would take one password away from me. Okay, so we have actually removed quite a few packages. Where are we at in terms of file system size? I guess we'll have to look at the root file system. We're using 4 gigs out of 6. Actually, I have no idea if I can strip this down even more. Is there a way to get back into the package selection menu here on Debian? Maybe that would allow me to do that. So let me actually take this away. This should still be available here. Yeah, yes it is. So let's check out Debian package selection. Because if I can deselect this main thing, then maybe we'll get rid of, or we'll get to a state where in which it would have been had I not selected the package thing. Oh, you say the package selection menu is part of the graphical installer. Yeah, it's not part of Debian itself, I guess. So everything else is then handled with apt. Okay. Makes sense. So let's get our console back. So what I definitely need to do is default grub. Vim not found. We need to remediate that. Apt install Vim. Okay. Actually, no. Oh, I had almost forgotten how the run levels are set up. No, it's rc.d. No, it's not. I forgot how to set a run level. This is embarrassing. Debian set default run level. Okay, that is done using systemd now. Okay, I have never had to change that since systemd got introduced. So I guess system control get default should probably give me graphical.target at the moment. And by setting that to multi-user.target, that should be then, yeah, run level 3. Okay, let's see how this looks like on our system. System control get target, right? No? Get default. Get default. Okay. Hey, Solid, welcome to the stack. Morning. He writes, or they write, morning, may I ask a kind of random question? I'm starting my journey to make a career pivot back into web dev, and I was wondering if I need to worry about security vulnerabilities streaming my project work. I wouldn't say security vulnerabilities per se, more like OPSEC, operational security. So I don't... things that I definitely failed at a few times was revealing API keys or stuff like that inadvertently. Some websites, for example, you go to the API secrets page and they do actually show the secrets in plain text without obscuring them by default. And so you navigate to that page and boom, all your API keys are visible on stream. Even if you switch away quickly, there's a recording out there that people can show frame by frame and get your keys. So then you are left with re-rolling all your API keys just to be sure. And things like that. So it's more like being mindful of not revealing stuff that people shouldn't see. So if I do something that I regard as slightly sensitive, then I'd simply switch my scene to my... oh no, that was wrong. To my secret scene where I do not only... cover my screen but also my keyboard, and that way I can make sure that people don't see what they're not supposed to see.
Like tears in rain.
Other than that, streaming your project work is a great idea. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing as well. Today it looks like typical stuff that a streamer would do with setting up my home server, but this home server setup is pretty much part of my actual daily work, because I'm going to use it to do experiments with in the context of my business and the hosting platform that we are running. For example, getting a full Kubernetes cluster running and trying out stuff on there. So this is all preparational work for actual business stuff. And I always appreciate it if live coders and live streamers do actually stream some stuff that has practical relevance and not only things that are done just for the sake of the stream. Bethesda says there's probably a meta package installed for Debian that will set your run level appropriately. Okay. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the case. Praxeus, yeah, I will second the OWASP advice. That will definitely tell you everything you need to know about web security, which is, I guess, most relevant to what you're going to do. Okay, let's get ahead. Get default, and then we'll switch stuff by set default. Right, yep, so let's try and do that. So, system, can't type today, system control, get default, graphical. Found 3 on the kernel command line, which overrides the default unit. Yeah, that was part of the plan. Set default multi dash user, I think, and then it's dot target, but I think I can leave that out. Yes. Okay. Want to get back or want to get into tech in the first place? I see. Baby steps. Yeah, that's a sensible way to approach this. And I guess if you ever want to get more into system administration, my Linux Master course could be helpful. Shameless plug. So, that's that. Now I wonder... if there's anything else I can do in terms of cleanup. Let's see if there are any X11 packages left. I guess they'll all start with a lowercase x. There's only X11 common, and that might actually even be necessary. Oh, thanks for the hint. Yeah, I also need to do an upgrade. And then we'll have to remove or reset a few things to that make this system actually usable as a template. So there are a few more steps that I'll have to do. Let's try and remove X11 and we'll see what... Oh, lots of stuff does depend on that. Chrome, GNOME, Shell, Evolution. I think I can actually get rid of that stuff. And I guess that's another ½ gigabyte gotten rid of. A solid road. So I'm actually still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do. Full stack dev is the easiest. I really just need to brush back up and get into JavaScript and feel confident in applying for entry-level roles for frontend. Yep, that will get you to the junior level. Still a lot of stuff because getting into JavaScript is easier said than done with all the frameworks that this can entail. We're not just talking about vanilla JavaScript there. Okay, so lots of stuff gotten rid of. Let's do another apt auto remove as well. This is also satisfying. Just not sure if I'm completely wrecking my system right now. But if it doesn't boot, I can always recreate the template. Solid asks, does it make sense that I can manipulate things pretty okay? I can go through PHP and understand what does what, but I can't build anything from scratch. That reminds me of me learning a foreign language, for example, Spanish. I'm learning Spanish at the moment, and having a background in a little bit of French and 8 years of Latin and a little bit of Italian as well, I can often understand things pretty easily, but in terms of speaking stuff myself, my vocabulary is minuscule, and I don't really know any grammar rules and things like that. So that means while I can understand stuff decently, I guess, I can't actually apply my language knowledge. And so I would say you will need to have some practical experience as well and be able to build stuff. I mean, having a solid understanding of things is a good point to start from. Don't get me wrong. That's already you are already ahead of many people. But I guess, as I said, take a few more baby steps into a more practical direction. Excuse me. Certifications, solid portfolio. Yeah, they will. I mean, I can't speak for every person hiring in the world, but for myself, whenever I hired people, I looked at their practical knowledge and skills, of course. But what was always important to me and will always be important to me is also their ability to learn, because while there is some overlap between positions and companies in terms of what technologies they use, there's always new stuff, and there's always company-specific stuff hidden in the closets, and that requires people to be able to learn and actually get used to how things are at their specific workplace. And so being able to learn and acquire new skills has always been at least as important as the knowledge they already came with. Yeah, I can relate. I can relate. I was happy to get back into practical stuff as well when I switched from my corporate IT management job back into building my own hosting business from scratch. And isn't it great that we can do that? I think it's a huge privilege that we can actually switch from a completely different job profile into tech, or the other direction as well. If you're burnt out from being in tech, being able to switch to something more product related or something, I think that's such a huge privilege we have here. Yeah, I'm also not too fond of management myself, to be honest. At least it's much easier to wrangle machines into compliance. Alright, so that is that. I would say let's try and reboot into this machine just to see if I can get it into a proper state. And here we go. That does look good. Okay, let's see about disk space. A little bit over 3 gigs out of 6. That's okay. I think that's okay. How does my other console look like? Ah, it's pretty much still pretty much unreadable. What a shame. Does this change if I reconnect? No, it doesn't. I think it just scales down and that's why it's so ugly. Can I change that? It says local scaling, auto resize window. Scaling mode off? Okay, that is better. It might just scroll off, I guess. Let's see if that's actually the case. Let's turn... oh, that didn't work. Yeah, it does scroll off and I can't see everything. What a pity. Anything else I can change? I mean, I could make it full screen. If I switch off auto resize. No, that goes back to bad. Okay. Thankfully, I'll set up... Okay, and now it didn't scale the window. So let's re-enable that stuff. Auto resize window should be on, I guess. And local scaling is on again as well. Yeah, so I'm making my first few steps in Proxmox here. Still need to familiarize myself. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. Okay, what I wanted to do is take a look at this tutorial here. So, in order to use our Debian system here as a template, we need to remove stuff that is pretty much installation specific, and that definitely involves the SSH host keys. We can't simply clone them because that will get us into hot water when I start accessing my Debian VMs using SSH, which will resolve all these console resolution issues in the first place. So let's get rid of those. And then I'll also have to remove the machine ID, which also gets auto-generated when the machine spins up, because that is used, for example, in DHCP. So if we don't delete the machine ID, our VMs will all have, I think, the same MAC address, and therefore will also get assigned the same IP address, and of course that is not going to work. So let's try and remove... Okay, I can't paste stuff in here. Anyway, that's, let's see, SSH underscore host something, right? ECDSA, ED25519, and RSA. It generates all of them, so let's remove all of them. And then we'll need to truncate size 0 etc machine ID. I think a dev null greater than etc machine ID would have worked as well in this case. Yeah, that's also why I need to get myself out of this VNC connection as quickly as possible and get SSH running. Speaking of, yeah, it does run. So that is already done. As Proxmox wrote earlier, we definitely need to do an apt-update and then an apt... What am I typing? Dear. Now I closed the console. Control W does not work if you're actually running in a browser. Apt dist upgrade. Okay, Nice. And another thing, I need to install the QEMU guest agent. That is already installed. I guess because I enabled that when I created this VM. I'm surprised that it was automatically installed, but hey, I'll take it. So then let's see what else we need to do. Do we need stuff installed apart from Vim? I guess Tmux would also be nice. Why not? But other than that, I can't think of anything. So let's install Tmux. What do you folks think? Is there anything else I should install that I would like to have on all my Debian machines? Bethesda wrote, so I spent a little while doing a serious spike of cloud in it for the first time, and the vast majority of my pain was wrangling how to get the config in via Pulumi. It's pretty simple, all told. Yeah, it is. It's just a little bit convoluted. We did the same thing with Terraform, where we used Cloud Init to, for example, install Chef on our hosts automatically once the Cloud VM was spun up. And it did work nicely. It was just a matter of getting the syntax right. And things like also if you have to dynamically generate your Cloud Init YAML, for example, in Terraform, using dynamic information like variables and things like that, then you have to deal with indentation. So you have your block with placeholders for the variables, and then you have to actually indent that by exactly 8 spaces, so it has the right location in the YAML hierarchy, and that's so ugly. Auto-generating textual YAML by indenting text blocks, and when you ever change something, you can't forget to you must not forget to change your indentation and all that stuff. That is pretty much a hassle. Yeah, using a full template and then having placeholders in that template that are automatically indented from the get-go, that does make more sense and is much more maintainable. The stuff that we had, these kludges that we had to have in our HCL was one of the reasons why I wanted to get rid of Terraform. Praxeus asks, have you made a list of all this? This is a good target for a quick Ansible script to ensure it's all there and up to date, and it can pull your RC files. So I had a different idea, but that's a very good advice. My idea was, how do I create additional content on top of my streams? And my idea was, instead of trying to get everything into video form, as most people do nowadays, I can see the point that many people make where they say, why does it have to be in video form all the time? Why doesn't anyone write proper blog posts and tutorials and articles anymore? And yeah, I think they have a point. And so I thought, well, let's do these things on my live stream where I can try things out, get hints and advice from you as the viewers, who sometimes have more experience doing these things than I have. And then I use my recording to actually write a tutorial, or at least write a note for myself how to do these things. That can then become an article later. And I'll take your advice, Praxeus, as well. Of course, I can also then take this note slash script slash article, whatever it is, and turn it into something that I can use as automation, for example, an Ansible playbook. So yeah, that's the approach I'm going to take. I have recordings of all my streams, and I can go through them, skip dead ends and things where I struggled, and simply extract the essence, basically, of what I did, and then turn that into textual content, whatever this textual content is. It might be Ansible playbook text, or it might simply be a note in my private Obsidian vault. BlueCon! Happy to have you. Nice of you to follow me here on Full Stack Live. Welcome to the stack. Okay, so that was Tmux. There was also a suggestion. Ripgrab or Ruby. I'm not going to install Ruby by default because this is supposed to be a very general purpose VM template, so it's not going to be Ruby specific. We'll leave that to specific projects, and we'll do a Ruby installation when we need one. Then there are additional tools like Ripgrab, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do much work on the command line on these VMs, actually, because most of that stuff will end up to be automated using Ansible and stuff. So I guess I'll leave it at that for the time being. I can always create a new template if I realize something is missing, or I might actually create a related Ansible playbook that I can then execute on these machines. So many options for us as sysadmins. I guess it's time to shut this down. Oops. Wrong window. Let's do power off here. We have removed the machine ID. That should be a 0-byte file. Yes, okay, so let's power this off. Okay, now this is a VM that is missing SSH host keys and a machine ID. And what I'm going to do now is turn this into a template. Convert to template, yes. That's that. How can I tell that this is a template? I can tell it from the icon, I guess. Anything else? Don't think so. Okay. And I think the last thing I should do is add Cloud Init support. So for example, I can get my OPSITIVE account created automatically when we spin up a new machine. Let's see if that... oh wait, I think I did close the wrong tab earlier. I think the Google tab was originally the tutorial. No, it wasn't. Where did we lose that? Yeah, this one. Convert to template. We already removed the ISO, and yeah, all we have to do is now create the Cloud Init support. And now, of course, I closed my Proxmox access. this is when I use my secret shield. Okay, so we have our template. In order to use Cloud Init, we need to add new hardware, namely a Cloud Init drive, which is going to be stored on the LVM storage. And now that I have the Cloud Init drive on IDE 0, I can actually make changes to the Cloud Init setup here, where I can create a user, which I'm going to call OPSITIVE. And I'll add a password as well. DNS domain, use host settings, I'm going to add a public key. Well, I'm going to add at least my local public key. So let's go to the console and get that. Yeah, that should be possible. Let's change that. I changed the host name from stream to demo. Upgrade packages, yes. And the IP configuration, we'll leave that empty, so we get DHCP, I guess. Now, if I create a new VM, let's call it Debian test. Where do I actually choose the template? Does this work differently? Let's go back to the tutorial. And I need to at least check back if I need to take care of something family-wise, because it's almost 4 o'clock. Let's Cloud Init. Do I just clone the template? Or does that create a new template then? Beth is alright. I imagine you would right-click on the template to create. Yeah, that would be the most sensible way. Yes. Mm-hmm. So we call that Debian test. We'll make it. Do we make it a linked clone, which is pretty much copy and write, as far as I understand it? Yeah, I guess, at least for this test, we'll do that. And I can't even change anything else at this stage, so I don't go through the whole wizard that I normally do. It'll actually simply create a new VM. And as I can see from the icon, it's actually a VM and not a template, so I didn't clone another template, but instead it did create a new VM. Brilliant. Let's go ahead and start it. That was quick. Let's get another console so we can actually read stuff. So I should be able to actually log in as OPSITIVE, shouldn't I? Oh, brilliant. Works. I should also be able to use sudo. And let's take a look at the machine ID. Okay, that didn't work. He's not in the sudos file, so the user did get created, but it didn't create the actual sudo setup, so we'll have to modify the template. Can we do that? I can't. See, once you've converted a VM into a template, there's no way back, and the template itself can't be run anymore. So that's something I'll have to actually fix. Okay, fair enough. Another thing, did create the SSH host keys. It didn't. That is interesting. That means it didn't create or didn't spawn an SSH server either, didn't it? It failed. Okay. I guess I'll have to research that a little bit more. Pretty sure it failed because it was missing the host keys, and so there needs to be a step where it recreates these host keys. Okay. Maybe that's a difference between Ubuntu and Debian. How these things work and are wired up into the Cloud Init or Bootstrap process. But let's catch up with chat a little before I have to take a short break to check things. Balthasar wrote, when I was at my previous gig, I had a small vSphere environment that I used for VMs, and rather than deploy new machines via templates, I would always pull the latest Ubuntu Cloud Server OVA and configure it fresh every time. Save me from having to maintain a golden master. Yeah, that's a good approach too. I'm not sure which approach I'm going to take in the long term. I'll try both. But, and then he went on, I didn't want to onboard Terraform at the time, so I leveraged an Ansible Galaxy module to deploy the VM from the OVA, which handled the Cloud Init magic to bootstrap the system with my SSH keys and install Ansible pre-request. Yeah, that's also a good approach. And if I want to use Ansible, maybe I should bake Ansible into the Golden Master as well. We'll see. Okay, so I'll take a short break just to see if I still have a little bit more time to stream or not. I'll be right back. So turns out the child process has a cold and doesn't need to be driven to swimming lessons, so I can't spend another hour or so exploring my VM stuff. Alright, so let's see. So we pretty much killed SSH. I think it would be a good idea to not search for an Ubuntu tutorial, but for a Debian tutorial to see if we have to wire up some kind of startup process or so to recreate these SSH keys. And yeah, with time I'll also have to decide if I'll take the approach that Balthasar outlined earlier by simply actually using a fresh VM image, which is also a valid approach. So let's see, Proxmox Debian template. Debian Cloud Init template on Proxmox. That does sound interesting. So what did we do? We have actually downloaded the cloud image. We did download it directly to the server. We created the VM. Using VirtIO networking. But they imported the CD-ROM. Oh, that's also a clever approach. To make the CD-ROM the... Wait, what? No, I'm getting this wrong, don't I? So, downloading the CD image, the net install. Okay. And here they create a new VM using the command line. Okay. Balthasar said, there's probably some magic file on the file system that says we've generated keys that needs to be removed again. Yeah, so, yeah, some kind of a flag file that tells SSH it's all good. We don't have to recreate host keys. So, yeah, somehow we need to make the startup process aware that it needs to do this initial host key initialization. Which usually happens when the... I think in terms of Debian, these host keys get generated when the package gets installed. And if that's already the case, then removing the host keys after the fact, of course, will break it. Okay, we might have to take a different approach. But I still need to understand what this tutorial here is actually doing. They create a new VM, then they import the, I guess, the image. Where does this Debian 11 generic cloud so and so come from? Create a new VM, import the QCOW Debian image as a disk, attach it, attach the Cloud Init drive, boot from the disk, serial console, okay, guest agent, okay, to deploy a new server. It simply gets cloned. That does sound rather simple, and I guess it'll start into the installation. But what would be the advantage over simply using the ISO image to create a new one? That seems to be a bit of an unorthodox way to go about things. I guess we don't have to go through all this language selection stuff and all the partitions and things. But again, okay, what they download is Debian, generic cloud, AMD. They do, okay, they download the QCOW2 file actually, which, okay, so apparently Debian does actually offer a QCOW image, copy on write image, that we can use directly without going indirectly through the ISO image. Okay. I see. I see. Additionally, you can also use a feature in newer versions of Proxmox that will download from a link directly and then automatically add that image to the correct directory. This is not strictly for the process we are working on right now and can be used for simple, regular Debian base images. Yeah, this kind, Professor writes, yeah, this kind of lines up with the strategy I used to use. I think it's probably the quickest way to get to a running system. And this QCOW file, if it's built for cloud and cloud init, yeah, so it has these additional provisioning steps in place that create host files and doesn't come with a static machine ID and things like that. So that's the main difference, that it's an image that has already been prepared for use as either something like a cloud instance or, in my case, a VM. Okay, this has merit. And then they turn 9500 to a template in the end. Huh. Okay, yes, so you set up a proxy server, a caching proxy that would always give you the latest image. That's also clever, yeah? Makes sense. Which we could set up in a VM. Okay, fair enough. And they actually initialized this. Actually, they didn't set any limits here, so I guess the 2 cores and 2 gigabytes of RAM are already baked into the image, and we can then raise these limits on demand. Okay, I could do this from the Proxmox console. Question is, can I also use the Proxmox UI in the same way? I would say I could. Let's see if we can. First of all, I need to find out what the current QCOW image URL is. So let's see, Debian download QCOW 2. Here we are, over here. We need a local QEMU virtual machine, QCOW 2. That's this one. And we'll copy this link. And in Proxmox, I go into local LVM. No, that's stored on local. I guess I'll have to download that as an ISO image. No. I think we need to take a different approach. I would have to have a local VM disk already created, but I can't simply download a disk from there. Let's take another look at the tutorial. Apparently I can use the ISO image. I agree. This seems to be a distraction here. I guess I rather download that to my to the disks directory. So let's see if I can recall that. As I said before, I don't have any Proxmox experience, so I still need to find my way around this whole application. And if I go into images, that's empty. Why is this empty? Okay, there's the ISO directory. These are my ISO images. I mean, could I could download the QCOW2 file here too. Do they say where they downloaded their file? Wait, here, that's talking. Oh no, that's the output of the ISO download. Guess I should. So, they import that file into local LVM. That happens when you do the import disk command. Okay. But that's alright. If you resize the deployed template image on first boot, it'll expand the partition to the size of the volume. Yep. Yeah, that's what I figured from other articles in that regard. Okay, so I'll simply download that to my directory here. Do I have enough disk space where I am right now? Yeah, 82 gigs. Okay, so can I... Okay, great. I can actually insert stuff here. Interesting that it says no cloud. But I think I selected the right one. Local QEMU virtual machine. Yeah. Okay, we can close this tab. Now we can create a new VM. And since we are still experimenting, I'll still use a 100 ID, so we are now at 103. And of course it's Debian 12 by now. Then we'll import the file that I just downloaded. Well, it's just QM import disk, I guess. 103 Debian local dash LVM. Ah, yes, and now I can see this image only has 2 gigabytes. Okay. And then we can blow this up to any size we want. That's actually a very decent, decently small size to start from. So we can actually create a 10 gig disk here if we want to be really frugal with disk space. Nice. Okay. Next. We'll set a few things. And I'll have to change the ID here. Okay. So that's actually VM 103 disk 0, and it's actually 103. Okay, that worked. We'll add the cloud init drive as IDE2. Okay. We'll make our new disk image the boot disk. Wait. Didn't quite copy what I needed. That's better. We need some kind of screen connection. I guess 0 is as good as any. Oh, I think I know what I did wrong. I'm used to a specific keystroke. Doesn't quite work here, and I have to change that again. Set the QEMU agent to enabled. And then we'll do a QM template on 103, which turns it into a template. And that's that. 103 is now a template called Debian 12 Cloud Init. Now let's see what happens if we clone this. Yeah, that's 104. Debian test 2. We can also actually shut down Debian test and actually delete it. Debian-test-2. No resource pool. We'll use a linked clone to save disk space, even though we have plenty. And let's see what happens. So let's get rid of Debian test, just so we have a little bit of cleanliness here. Let's shut this down. It's broken anyway. And I guess we can actually remove that. Remove 102. One or two is gone and can be reused. And let's see what happens if we actually start 104 now. I should have changed disk size and stuff, but yeah. It did also not start SSH, which is interesting. And I guess I also didn't set a user. So if root... okay, root doesn't have a password. Interesting. We also don't have any host keys in here. We do have a machine ID. And that should be different from the next machine I'm going to clone. A7F2. Let's try and memorize that. And so we have the same SSH issue. Can I scroll back here? Not with the mouse. Can I use shift page up? Yep. So SSH did have issues. That was the only one. Apart from that, we have some UTF-8 issues, I guess. Okay. Oh dear, what did I do? Pressing Control W is so ingrained in my muscle memory. Let's get our PVE console back. Okay, let's shut this one down. And okay, apparently it doesn't actually shut down. You can always stop it. Dumb. can't. Both shutdown and stop seem to be still hanging here. It's still running. Do I still have access? No. I don't think it was on my side. I definitely did not hear any beep. Except it might have been something around me that I can't hear because I got headphones on. We don't have an Apple II in the house, so I'm not sure what it was. Oh, wait. No, it's not the CO2 monitor either. That should sound differently anyway. Okay, so this... Are you broken? Maybe it was the song. Sometimes these songs have sounds in there that are really confusing. Okay, so let's try cloning this once more into, yeah, so let's say 102. We'll call it Debian test 3. We'll make it a linked clone. And now we'll take our time and actually make this a little bit bigger. How do I grow this? It should definitely have SSD emulation and discard because it's running on an SSD. And it still says 2 gigs. Do I do this after the fact? After creating it? Apparently. Because I have no option here to actually grow this. Yeah, I wish there was an OBS update that would fix that. For some reason, my OBS tends to crash when I go beyond 2.5 hours or something, a little bit more than 2 hours of stream, and then it breaks down. No idea why. I am doing local recording. Do you think it's a disk file size or something? Let's see how big the recording was when it crashed. 9.6 gigs. It's an MKV container. Maybe that's a way to investigate. I have to admit I did actually not investigate that yet. But I should. Okay, let me get my setup back in order. Let's restart Atom. Because that tends to hang as well if I... Come on. If I start OBS again. No, we have our 102 here. Debian test 3. Still with 2 gigs, but Balthasar wrote that that happens post create pre-boot. Oh wait. I'm starting to confuse stuff here. Now, I did create it, and I haven't booted it yet, but I am not sure how I would. There's a resize. Here we go. Size increment. Here I would say, okay, increment it by 30 gigs, which would then get me to 32 gigs again. Brilliant. And what else? The Cloud Init stuff. Since the template comes with Cloud Init setup, we can actually create a user OPSITIVE here. Set a password. I wonder if that then will get rid of the empty root password. SSH? Yeah. I can't load a file, but what I can do is get my public key from... Wait. Oh yeah, I can see why it doesn't work. Let's use 1Password directly here. Here we go. And I can copy the public key right from here. Upgrade packages, yes. IP configuration, let's keep that as it is. And now let's start this. This is readable, but it's only a part of what we need. So let's get another console. Guess I can't start a second session if the serial connection is already in use. That's bad. Let's try root first. Root has always an empty that's a strange... Oh, I think I know what happened. I actually picked the wrong image. This is for local QEMU use, and that's why probably root doesn't come with a root password. Because it's only used on a local machine. I should have used one of the cloud images, I guess. That's why the image said no cloud. Yeah, Balthazar, thanks for the advice. I look at my OBS logs as well. But now we have another 2.5 hours before the next crash is going to come. Okay, so I guess let's power this off manually. Okay, at least this worked this time. So I might have started with the wrong image. Strangely enough, I wonder why this SSH didn't work. Do we still have a console open? No. Let's try another shutdown. Should be able to do that. Best of luck getting your network back up, Praxeus. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to talk soon. Oh no, I'm not touching network with a long stick. I'm same. Don't want to do that if it's not necessary. I have my Unify home network set up. It's working nicely, and sometimes I have to add port forwardings or something, but I'm not starting stuff like VLANs anytime soon. This Proxmox racket here could get me into doing a little bit more networking, though. We'll see where it gets us. It's also pretty warm in here. Yeah, it's 25 degrees. Okay, so apparently we can't get rid of 104 here. And I can also remove 101, the Debian template. Xterm.js, interesting. No, starting extra console doesn't really help either. Now let's see what happens if we press reset. Looks like I managed to get something to hang around. Zombie VM. But that's part of the process too. Oh, it says can't lock file. Lock104.conf. Got timeout. It does try a QM reset, okay. That's probably because the shutdown is still running. So we might have to wait for the shutdown to time out and then we can try another reset or something. Yeah, shutdown is the voluntary shutdown, and if the system doesn't react, this will probably not work. So I should use reset or stop again once the shutdown has finished. Or maybe I can actually stop this task. And now let's try another reset. Ooh, look at that. That worked. Okay. What? No, no. Just want to log in. Okay. So I guess we'll get rid of that too. Uh, 104.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Adrian, thank you for following. Welcome to the stack. Okay, so let's try with a different cloud image, shall we? Now that I know how the process works, shouldn't be too much of an issue. Wait, what? Oh. Somehow we ended up on the shell here. So let's see. Search again for Debian QCow2. Okay, so there's Amazon EC2, Microsoft Azure, OpenStack, and plain VM. I guess what we downloaded was plain VM. I would say that probably under Bookworm, huh? And the latest is this one. And do we download the generic QCow2? What did they download? Oh, I don't have that tab open either. Let's try and recover that. So they downloaded the generic cloud AMD, not the no cloud. I guess that's an important difference. So I would say we'll grab the generic. Oh, there's also a generic cloud. Okay. I guess you are the one. AMD 64, September, QCAR2. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that somewhere there's probably a symlink or something. And mind you, I went directly to cloud.debian.org and not to the downloads page where I was earlier. And there's also a latest. Yeah, look at that. So you are perfectly right. I can actually download this one. Debian 12 generic cloud AMD 64. Copy link. Let's go to the Proxmox console. We can actually get rid of this one. That was the wrong one. And we can actually grab this one. Maybe it's time to think about an ID range for templates. I was planning to use the 100 range for test stuff, for ephemeral stuff, the 200 range for actual production VMs. And I guess we could use the 900 range for templates. How about that? Let's do that. So, just to make things easier, I'll move that here. We probably won't use this tab anymore. So, we have to go through the whole process again. How about we make this a script, huh? Do we have Vim? No, we don't. But this is Debian, so Proxmox itself runs on Debian too. Yeah, that's something. For these things, we always had the default answer for historical reasons. But since I'm forced to use these IDs, we can, why not use some kind of a system. All right, so let's call this Debian template .sh. Let's move this here. We'll call it VMID and we'll make it ID 900. And here we'll use VM. Wait. VMID. Same here. We'll have to replace the file name too. Then somewhere there's another VMID that's here. And we'll need to replace this. I don't suppose Vim does do this automatically, does it? My NeoVim configuration does insert files, but I don't suppose Vim does that by default. Let's see. No. There's no auto. Yeah, there's no auto completion. But we can always shell out and copy this. that was not what I wanted. That goes here. And we need another VM ID here. We call it Debian dash 12 dash template. Import the disk, set the disk as our SCSI hardware, add the cloud init drive, make SCSI 0 our boot drive, add a serial console, enable the QEMU guest agent, and make it a template. That does look good. Let's make this executable. And let's execute it. That's it. Now, let's see what happens if we clone this. 101, yep. We can reuse Debian test. We'll make it a linked clone. We'll go here. We'll do a disk action. I guess I have to select the disk. We'll resize it and add 30 gig. And we'll start it. Let's see what happens. Oh, I forgot to set the cloud init stuff. So if root has a password now, I've locked myself out. It tries to start networking. Interesting. It should actually be able to get a DHCP address for my network. But it hangs. What did we do in terms of network? Yeah, we bound it to our standard bridge, which makes it a normal network device on my home network. Oh, you think it'll run every time? Yeah, that's possible. I think I read that it only did get executed once, but we'll see. I mean, it's just a experimental VM anyway. I can clone a new one. Now I'm more concerned about not getting a network, though. And it'll wait without a limit. Oh dear. So if it hasn't got network connection by now, I don't suppose it'll ever get one, so we'll be stuck waiting here. How very strange. Oh! What took it so long? Okay. Stuff's happening. SSH host keys getting generated. And here we are. Can I log in as root? Oh no! Let's see. Let's go. See? Famous last words. I don't think we'll need this tab anymore. Yes, we do. There's no mention of a login, but I guess everything relies on Cloud Init here. It's usually provided. Don't download. They are usually provided by the cloud providers. So yeah, I'll have to take care of that myself. So they create an image in OpenStack here with the usual stuff. And there is an OS admin user. But is there... There's no password that gets assigned, right? Also, the properties OS type, OS distro, OS version, and OS admin user are OpenStack standards as per this document. To allow your cloud user to filter the image list to search what they need, for example, use a command like this: list property OS distro Debian. Okay, that makes it. I see. Yeah, that's how they import this image into OpenStack to make it available to end users. But my assumption would be that everything else gets taken care of by Cloud Init, and since I failed to set that, I guess I won't get access. I mean, root might not even have a password assigned. So if we don't create a user, we are SOL, I would assume. So let's try and switch this off. Or reset it after setting Cloud Init. Let's try it this way. User, we'll use OPSITIVE. Password, we'll use OPSITIVE. We'll keep DNS domain, DNS servers as it is. Why not set an SSH key again? Let's grab that again. It's already here. So let's paste that. I wonder why the paste function of my keyboard doesn't work. That's that. Upgrade packages, yes. And now let's see what happens if we reset this. My bet is on Cloud Init not getting installed or getting executed twice. I'm pessimistic like that. I wonder why it takes this long to get an IP address. I think it did get one in the end, but it took about 2 minutes. Because when I tried this earlier, I think my Ubuntu VM up here did get an IP address, didn't it? Let's see. Oh, another terrible console again. But I'll just do a quick test. Login was again OPSITIVE, I think. Oopsie daisy. No? Already forgot my login here. Okay, here we go. Yes, that's an IP address from my network. I can actually also ping Google, right? Google, but it still pings. Okay, so let's switch this off again. So generally, the bridge does work. No idea why the Debian test one has issues. Okay, so now we have the OPSITIVE user, I hope. Nope, we don't. Okay, let's scrap this and try a new one. Uh, 101. Bye-bye. It's going to be another Debian test. Creativity for the win. Hardware already has Cloud Init Drive installed, so let's go right here and do the usual dance. User OPSITIVE, password OPSITIVE. Did that go right? Let's try it again. Host settings, SSH public key. Let's import that from 1Password again. Eventually, we are going to use that even, but I guess we'll need a network. Upgrade package to CS IP config. Maybe I have to submit something here. Oh, look at that! Maybe we should actually set it to DHCP. And IPv6, we'll leave it at that because I don't think we'll even get IPv6. Well, let's try DHCP as well. Doesn't really matter. Okay, that looks better. And let's also not forget to resize the hard disk. So we get an actual working system. Let's add 30 gigs. So now we have 32 gigs. We have Cloud Init with the OPSITIVE user and even an SSH key. Yep. Now let's try and spin this up. Oh wait. Oh wait, he said. I did... Oh crap. Now I screwed up my template. I failed to select Debian test. Shit. Ah, don't you hate it when it happens? Now I need to... Well, a good thing I scripted the setup. So yeah, we can actually start from scratch. But still, I can do the same stuff that I just did to my template. You know what? Something that I also should do on the template, if it's actually possible. Now that I've resized it, I should actually enable SSD emulation and discard support. So when I clone this, I will get a 32 gigabyte instance now, but it'll have support for SSD. So let's do SSD emulation, discard support. Okay, and disk action. Let's resize that too, so it matches the template. Oh crap. That's why you want to script these things. And I guess we'll also have to... I mean, I could also reclone the template again. Why don't I do that? Let's throw this away. Why go through all this hassle? My template already looks like I want it to look. Hardware says discard. SSD 32 gigs. Unfortunately, we are now stuck with that. Cloud init has OPSITIVE. It has the SSH key. So if I clone this to the latest incarnation of Debian test, our new VM should look like it is supposed to. From the get-go, we have IP configuration, we have cloud init in there. We might want to increase memory, but not for this experiment. We already have 32 gigs of SSD storage. We have a network device. This is all looking pretty nice, so now let's try and start. It was the missing start button that told me that I had done something seriously wrong when I changed all these settings on my template. Now, we don't see the full console, but at least we can read the text. And I think Cloud Init immediately got an IP address. And now, let's see. Ooh, IP address list. There we are. Good heavens. Ping google.com. Ooh. Ah, here we go. Yeah, it does ping, albeit very slowly. But Cloud Init is still running in the background. Oh crap, yeah, I guess. There are also probably hundreds of cartoons out there with lists of things you don't want to hear your system administrator say in increasing level of danger. Okay, Cloud Init. Ooh, Cloud Init still updating packages in the background. So let's... Now it says it's finished. Again, let's ping google.com. Okay, 16 milliseconds is much better than 5,000 earlier. Don't you talk badly about my network. It's alright. Probably just was a little bit overwhelmed with all the package updates in the background. I think that was a VM thing. So that's that, but how about sudo access? Sudo apt update? Yes, here we go. So if I provide all the necessary details, I get a running system with a user that I can log into. Now let's try and see if SSL does actually work. No, SSH does actually work. It's the 222. So where's my terminal? SSH 192 168 1222. And we'll need to use OPSITIVE. Yes, please. And we are logged into OPSITIVE Debian test. Oh, it... yes, of course. It does key-based login, so I didn't even have to enter the password. Love it. And yes, I have an SSH agent running where I already had entered the passphrase. That is pretty nifty. Now we can actually easily create new VMs. I'll probably bake another template with 2 GB of disk space, so we have full flexibility. But I will actually already set the cloud init details in the template. We can always change them for specific VMs, but having that in there already makes things so much easier. It's just a few, it's just a few clicks, and then I'll get my new VM, and it'll have a network connection and everything. Really like that. And with that, that's actually a great point to wrap things up. It's 5 o'clock here, so it's time to go into the evening. And yeah, so this did take a little longer than I expected. I thought we'd be able to, for example, set up a first server or start moving stuff over from my existing Synology NAS, where I am running services like Pi-hole and Home Assistant and Jellyfin. But we'll do that on Thursday, I think. SB4, you're welcome. It's been fun. And I hope to see you soon. Welcome to the Stack, by the way. And yeah, next stream will be tonight, actually, at 7 p.m. UTC. I'm going to do the OPSITIVE office hour, where I answer your questions. So I don't have anything planned myself. I'll just sit on the hot seat waiting for you to ask stuff. That's in a few hours' time, I guess in 3 hours. And I'll have dinner first. On Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. UTC, I'll do another live coding or administration stream. I guess we'll pick up where I left off now. And on Friday afternoon, there's going to be another OPSITIVE office hour at 1 p.m. UTC, but that's a little bit far away. The OPSITIVE office hour tonight will be the next live stream. If you like, join us, our little OPSITIVE community over on the OPSITIVE Discord server. Let me give you the address. We would love to have you there. On there, you can also ask questions, and not only will they be answered there, I'll also pick up your questions and take them into the OPSITIVE office hour later today. So if there's anything that you'd like to ask, you can either ask it live on stream, or you could simply post to the appropriate Discord channel. And if you'd like to support me, I have a Ko-fi page where you can do one-off sponsorships or even subscriptions. And those subscriptions give you a lot of perks, access to exclusive content, or even voice access to the stream, where you can join me here live in audio if you like. That's all on my Ko-fi page. And yeah, that's it for now. And I hope to see you tonight or later this week. Until then, take care.